Good morning, this is Brenda, and I'm back with another review. As promised, I'm going to review The Shining from 1980, starring Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers, Danny Lloyd, and of course Jack Nicholson. I was actually able to get Stacy from Let's Wine with Brenda and Stacy to watch this one with me. She is a huge Jack Nicholson fan and loves all his crazy. This movie was based on the book by Stephen King, The Shining, and was directed by Stanley Kubrick. I've always heard that Stephen King wasn't a big fan of this version, stating one time that this version had no engine. There's also a 1997 miniseries out there that has Steven Weber and Rebecca De Mornay. It's closer to the book and definitely worth a watch, but I'm going to focus on the 1980 movie today. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance, who accepts a position at the Overlook Hotel as the caretaker. He's going to be there all winter with his wife and son, and is even told that one of the previous caretakers developed cabin fever and killed his family. Because of the annual snowfall in that area, they're already told that they're going to be snowed in for most of the winter. Jack has a violent temper and a history of alcoholism. He lost his teaching job due to a violent outburst, and they don't really specify in this movie what that is, but if you've read the book and watched the miniseries, then you know. Jack had made a promise never to drink again after he became too aggressive with his young son and hurt his arm. So Jack's looking at this job at the Overlook Hotel as time to write and also a fresh start. While being showed around the hotel, they meet Dick Halloran. Halloran is the cook at the Overlook Hotel, and he takes Danny aside. Danny quickly learns that him and Halloran are able to talk to each other with just their minds, and Dick Halloran explains to him that it's called the shining, that people who shine are able to do this. Danny's shining is really strong. He's able to see ghosts before they're fully manifested, and his future self is even able to come back and try to give him warnings. His parents think this is just an imaginary friend that he's named Tony. Danny asks Halloran what's in room 237, and he's told specifically to stay out of there. All the people at the hotel have packed up and went home, and Halloran has went to his condo in Miami. So now it is just the three of them in the hotel. It's Jack, Wendy, and Danny. The snow does come as predicted, and their only access to the outside world is a two-way radio that's connected to a local forestry service. The family settles into their days, and Jack is working on what seems to be a pretty hefty manuscript, but you can see him getting a little agitated as the days go by and as Wendy and Danny want any of his attention. Danny's been seeing the ghost of two little girls that we come to find out had been the daughters of Delbert Grady, who had been the original caretaker. Danny also sees visions of them after they've been killed. Of course, being a child, he didn't listen and ends up in room 237. When his parents see him again, he has a scratch on his neck and his sweater is ripped, and of course, Wendy automatically thinks Jack has done this to him. Danny does tell Wendy that there is a crazy woman in that room. She sends Jack there to deal with the crazy woman, so he goes in and he finds a ghost who I'm pretty sure he wants to fuck, but then when he sees what she really looks like in the mirror, I think it turned him off pretty quick. Jack has already been hanging out with some of the former employees and guests from the hotel from the 1920s, primarily Lloyd the bartender with his ghost alcohol and Delbert Grady. It's Grady who tells Jack, "You've always been the caretaker here." Wendy stumbles upon his typewriter and sees that all that Jack has been writing is "all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." So then she starts looking through the manuscript and sees that same sentence over and over and over again. I would quickly be like, "You son of a bitch, that's what you've been sitting here doing this whole time?" Of course, he's mad, so he starts chasing her. She's able to knock him down some stairs and drag him to a pantry and lock him inside. One of the ghosts from the hotel lets him out. By now, Danny knows that everything is going south, so he uses his mind to reach out to Halloran. Jack is now after Wendy and Danny. Wendy shuts herself and Danny in a bathroom. She's able to open the window and get Danny out, but she gets herself stuck in it. So now we have Wendy stuck in the bathroom with a knife. Jack is trying to get through the door with an axe, and he starts saying that little pig stuff, and that's when Stacy said, "I would fling that door open and say it to my face, motherfucker." He manages to get a hole in the door, sticks his face through, does the famous "Here's Johnny." Then he sticks his hand through to try to use the doorknob, and that's when Wendy cuts his hand. Halloran has made it back by now, and he hears the snowcat and is distracted by that. Poor Halloran traveled all that way just to meet his demise pretty quickly after entering the Overlook. Wendy had told Danny to run. When Jack makes it outside, he chases him into the hedge labyrinth. I'll give Danny some credit. He's pretty smart. Jack is following the footprints in the snow. Danny is pretty far ahead of him, so he's able to backtrack and brush out some of his footprints, so Jack gets lost in the snow and ultimately freezes to death out there. Wendy and Danny are able to escape in Halloran's snowcat. But before they cut to the credits, we see a picture on the wall that is dated the 4th of July, 1921, and we see Jack Torrance in that party picture. Reincarnation, maybe? He's always been the caretaker. Let's see how many wine glasses this movie gets. This has always been my comfort movie. eerie. I just love snow. Eerie? Yeah, love the ghosts. They're not really scary, but I'm going to give it a wine glass because who wouldn't want Lloyd the bartender to give them a drink? The environment definitely gets a wine glass. I love the snow. I love the hotel and everything about it. I want to go. Evil? Yeah, wine glass. I wouldn't want my husband turning on me like that out in the middle of nowhere. Empathy? Not really. He was told not to go in that room. Danny stirred all this shit up. I always wonder how the movie would have went down if Danny didn't have the shine. And of course, I'm going to give it a wine glass for being entertaining. So this movie gets 4 wine glasses. I will definitely be watching it again in the future. This is one my husband didn't really like. He always complained about it being too long. Of course, when he was alive, we were watching it with commercials and they would run at 3 or 3.5 hours. And the miniseries itself is over 3 hours. The actual runtime for this movie with no advertisements is 2 hours and 23 minutes. I love The Shining so much I even have it tattooed on my arm. I have the key from the room. It has the print from the carpet with the room number 217 from the book. My next review is going to be 1988's Night of the Demons. So until then,